Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Orduna, this is my mom Gina.
He's a journalist.
She's the enthusiast.
I'm enthusiastic because we got a full show today.
My
Lots
goodness.
to talk about.
Well, first thing I want to point out is this weather right now. It is March 2nd, and
Right.
it is beautiful out here, so I'm really happy about that.
Well, when you think of March, you think of spring, but we're in the Midwest. Winter usually doesn't even come till the end of March.
Right.
Until the end of March.
Correct.
We didn't have winter this year.
We did not have winter this year,
Well,
and
that's
so we
okay.
are now in March, and that means that there's a lot of great things happening in this month. One of those things being my birthday, and so I'm really excited about that.
That's true.
On top of that, we've got a very full show, so
And
let's
it is
get
Throwback Thursday.
It is Throwback Thursday. Thank you for pointing that out. She's wearing her pie-up shirt back in her college days. I'm
all the way
wearing
back to the
a
pledge
Nebraska
days.
shirt because that's where our roots are
Yeah.
from. So it is definitely Throwback Thursday. And we haven't done too many Throwback Thursday shows,
we
but
haven't. Here
we
we
do
go.
love the idea. And so today's Throwback Thursday. And so with the Throwback Thursday, like I said, we've got a huge show. We've got a lot of topics to talk about. So let's get right into it. Just to name some of these things off, okay? We've got the NCAA tournament. It is March Madness. And so we want to talk about the tournament and some of the teams as they're seeded or getting seeded. Conference tournaments, and there are other tournaments as well taking place. There's a couple teams right now that we want to highlight, Northwestern and Gonzaga. We'll get into that. Also, we have the NBA. All of the trade deadlines have ended, but there are still some people that are getting picked up by certain teams, and there are some injuries that have also taken place, so we're going to talk about that as well. We also have the Major League Baseball season, which is kicking off their spring season, and so all of the teams are playing right now and their perspective preseason games, and so we'll also highlight some of those things. On top of that, we've got the NFL Combine,
My goodness.
which is tomorrow. Basically, they have all the pre-interviews happening right now and press
interviews
conferences, and so we will highlight that as well. And then lastly, we do want to talk about NASCAR. It is NASCAR season. The Daytona 500, which everyone is very familiar with, has already taken place, but we want to talk about that race because it was a pretty iconic race and it was very exciting.
Things happening.
So this is the week in sports news. This is the weekly update, and there was a lot of things that took place, and so let's go ahead and talk about the NCAA tournament right now,
let's
because
do that.
that's really, I think, what's the hottest thing right now, because there's so many people that get involved all across the country, especially when it comes to secretaries at work and teachers and principals at elementary schools. The office pools.
Yes,
Everyone gets involved. If you're not a basketball fan, you just love the tournament because there's so much that can happen. There's a lot of excitement. Northwestern.
Yes.
Let's highlight them to get started.
I'm excited for this.
Yes, this is a really cool situation because Northwestern is a Division I program. They are in Chicago, well, not Chicago,
but basically,
basically a suburb of Chicago. It's almost an Ivy League school. I was recruited by them. My test scores weren't quite high enough to get in there, but they did like me. My talent was there, but my so hey, I no love lost there. It's a tough school to get into. But as a athletic school, they aren't that known for basketball. They're good in the other sports, but basketball really isn't their strong point. They have never made an NCAA tournament appearance.
That is crazy to me. They're the only major program from any of the major divisions that has never made it. The only one, and they've obviously never made it in their history. And now they've got a team that, by all accounts, because of a last-second win over Michigan, is pretty much guaranteed a spot in the tournament. And I'm not talking about playing in the bunny bracket games. I'm talking about they're actually going to get seeded and make it to the
they were ranked. This was the first year in the school's history that they were ranked within the top 25. Awesome. So they have done a lot to get to this point. They've beat the teams that they needed to beat, and they come from the Big Ten. So therefore, they've got the resume to get in there. And so last night's win was really big for them. And so now it looks like they'll probably be in the tournament. So that's awesome. Congratulations to Northwestern.
Good job. Come on, Cats.
Gonzaga, they play in the WCC West Coast Conference. There's been a lot of eyebrows raised about them and their resume, just for the fact
I'm raising mine right now.
that they don't play in a very strong conference. The big thing for them that helps them is the fact that because they don't play in a strong conference, they get a chance to really be undefeated. Well, they've been undefeated up until last week. BYU and St. Mary's are the two teams within that conference that can really challenge them, and they have won every game. Well, there was the last meeting between BYU and Gonzaga of the season, and BYU ended up beating them. So the big question is, do they still deserve to be a #1 seed? Because right now, up to this point, they've been considered a #1 overall seed.
Right. Well, they're definitely not even #1 overall because that belongs to Kansas.
Exactly. But everyone remembers Gonzaga in the early 2000s, late 90s, when they made their big run as the first real big Cinderella story.
Right.
And so everyone remembers them for what they did in those tournaments. and they are in Spokane, Washington State, and so they're a small school, but they made a lot of noise, and so people love them because of who they are.
Your friend Josh Ostrom was a huge Gonzaga fan. Talk about throwback.
It's throwback, exactly. So the big question is, do they deserve to be the number one, still have a number one seeding? What do you think?
Well, my opinion is it depends. They have to, I mean, they still have to win in their tournament. If they continue to go undefeated, win out their tournament, and so they only have one loss on their resume, because they have a decent out-of-conference schedule, some teams that they beat, I would still give them a number one seed. If they lose, they still need to go to the dance, but then no, I don't think they're a number one. So the nice part is that people are starting to play their conference tournaments, which is the other big thing going on right now. The Kansas City will host the Big 12 tournament. Woo, I'm excited about that.
Really excited,
There's a whole bunch. Kansas City is awesome. We got a lot of stuff
Kansas
going on
City
here.
is awesome.
Some of the other conferences are already into their tournament play, so we'll see. Gonzaga needs to continue to win out. If not, they'll make it to the dance. Maybe it's a 2 or 3 seed. But if they go undefeated from here out, they'll keep a number one seed.
They win it all, and their tournament is played in Las Vegas, which is really cool. I love watching their tournament as well. But if they do end up winning out, they'll probably still remain number one seed. But if they don't, they'll still be 2 or 3 seed.
Wasn't there some other basketball?
Well, yes, and then on top of that, just as another side note, a lot of the Division II tournaments are being played. The MIAA tournament championship will be here in Kansas City as well. So another great caveat to Kansas City. All right, on to the NBA. We have a lot of huge news right now. Number one, let's just talk about this. LeBron James now has all validation for everything he's talked about and complained about and expressed his feelings about for not having enough help, which fine, he may have a point to it, but we don't think that he did. A lot of people agree that he had all the help that he needs, but now he finally has all of the help that he actually asked for. He got a backup point guard and Darren Williams, who was at one point considered the best point guard in the league, and you've got now Andrew Bogut, who is considered to be one of the best rim protectors and big man in the league. And that was one of the things they were talking about. They need a bench point guard and they need a big man inside. And now he's got that. And so that is huge news because now there's no excuses for LeBron.
At the end of the day, I fall asleep whenever we talk about LeBron James because it's like, I'm so bored. If he's not crying and whining, he's winning championships. So he's going to cry and whine until he gets what he needs to win a championship. And right now, he's gotten what he needs to win a championship.
So there's no more excuses.
Congratulations.
He needs to be able to go ahead and win out.
What you needed.
Okay, so with that being said, going to the Western side of things, the other super team that everyone's been talking about all year is the Golden State Warriors. The reason why they've been considered a super team, they were already, to me, in my mind, a super team. But the addition of Kevin Durant over the summer made everyone all up in arms and super crazy about the fact that Kevin Durant joined Golden State, and now they've got not just a big three, they got a big four. Well, guess what happened? Kevin Durant has a strained MCL. He hyperextended MCL, and he is out indefinitely. So the big question was, you know, is this going to be a good season for everyone to watch? Because you got Golden State who's stacked, and then it's probably going to be Cleveland in the East because nobody can challenge LeBron and company in the East. So it's going to be Golden State versus Cavs again for a third time, which is fine. That's great. That's parity, and that's a rivalry, and that's fine. Well, now that Kevin Durant is out, is this going to highly impact the Golden State Warriors?
Nope, I'm going to give you a quick, short note. The Golden State Warriors made it to the NBA Finals the last 2 years without KD. Adding KD is just extra insurance. Taking KD away, oh well.
Well, they're going to continue on without him.
They won the last 2 years without him. They won 73, how many games?
73 and 9 last year,
games
and then won the championship the year before.
Won the championship the year before and went to Game 7 last year.
With the two-time reigning MVP on that team.
If you ask me if they lose Draymond, is that going to be a problem? The answer to me is yes.
Because we saw it last year.
We did. So, no, they're fine.
Right, I totally agree with that. And then just to continue on to injuries within the NBA, Joel Embiid for the Philadelphia 76ers is now out again with another knee issues.
How many games has he played?
He's only played, I mean, it seems like it. Yeah, he has hardly played. They drafted him out of KU. He was very young at the time, and so he's finally now starting to fill out with his body. His athleticism is without question. When he has played, he's been a huge impact for the team. And it's just a big loss because the big thing about him is the slogan for him is trust the process. Meaning, hey, stick with me, we'll be good. And when he has been good, he's averaging 20-some points and 7 assists a game and like 2-point-something blocks. He's making a huge impact, so that's a huge loss for that Philadelphia franchise. And on top of that, they also traded Nerlens Noel, who's also a big man, down to Dallas. So they're losing a lot within a short span.
I just feel bad that the young man had so much potential because he was a shot blocker and a rebounder, and now he's out. So.
Exactly.
Well, that's the NBA.
That's the NBA and the basketball. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of our favorite things here. We're going to talk about quickly the NFL Combine. It is taking place. The drills and all of the testing takes place for the next 3 days. We've got all the pre-interviews and press conferences and things like that as players are getting interviewed by GMs and other franchises. This is a big deal because there's so much going on.
This is the future of the league happening right now, right in front of your eyes.
Young athletes transitioning from college into the professional part of their lives and into the NFL. There are so many sub stories here with Joe Mixon, who's the running back out of Oklahoma, not getting invited to the NFL Combine for his off-the-field problems that took place years ago. And then you've got quarterbacks that are, or just athletes in general, doing things to stretch out their hands to try to make themselves more attractive for other GMs and things like that. There's a lot of things going on here, and do you necessarily agree with some of these things that have come up in this year's NFL draft?
Of course not, and I know we're going to do a whole show about that, but I feel like I think Mixon should have been invited. As far as the stretching of the fingers, I think all of that shows you how ridiculous the Combine really is. For me, it's like entertainment. It really is. I just want to go see these kids show off their skills, kids, young men. You know, I like to see the big men do the skills things and the girls. At the end of the day, you need to be watching film on these kids, do an interview with them, and then move on. The rest of it, to me, is kind of a joke. How far is my hand? All that nonsense. You need to go on whether the person's got talent or not. So that's how I feel
agree.
About that.
It just should be about the film and the athlete himself instead of all the other stuff. Okay, quickly before we conclude our show here, we're going to talk about the MLB spring season, as we mentioned at the top of the show. The big thing that I guess I want to speak upon is the Tim Tebow aspect. We all remember when he got picked up and signed by the minor league team for the New York Mets. Now it is spring training. They invited him to their spring training, and there's all these highlights about him hitting home runs and all this stuff in BP batting practice. And do you think this is a big deal or not? Do you even think he's going to make it past spring training?
Well, first of all, you can't hit a home run in batting practice because you're not playing anybody. The machine's throwing the ball to you. No, I think this is just some more show. The Mets are trying to get their dollar out of it. So they flash some T-ball. Oh, he hit 3 balls today. And,
well, it is an exciting time for super baseball fans because their teams get started and you get a chance to watch these guys in action. It's been a long break for some of these guys, and so it's good to get back into the swing of things. Swing of things, baseball.
I see what you did there.
So it's awesome. Congratulations to all the teams getting back, and it's going to be a fun season. We'll see what happens coming up. And then lastly, we want to talk about NASCAR here. The Daytona 500 kicked off last week, and I don't know if you people out there like the animated picture Cars from Pixar and Disney. We love the movie. It's a great show, one of our all-time favorites. And it was that initial scene where Lightning McQueen gets through the wreckage, and he does this like Michael Jordan-esque thing, and his tongue comes out. Well, that's what happened with Kurt Busch this time around here in the Daytona 500. A lot of people I talked to said that this was one of the most craziest races because of all the wrecks and stuff that were happening. There's so many other things going on. Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran out of gas. Well, Kurt Busch emerged from the end and took the last
wreck at the end.
Yes,
and he kind of
zoomed through there like Lightning McQueen did.
He didn't lead the whole race to Lewis the last lap.
And I guess there's a good life lesson in that. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. And so he won the Daytona 500. So congratulations to Kurt Busch. And NASCAR starting off the right way, I guess.
And I know you're like, whew, that was a lot.
There's a lot, but we wanted to get that to you, and so we're just excited because this is what we do: talk about sports on our show on the deck.
There we go.
We just want to say, please continue to follow us on all of our social media, like our Facebook page, continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. We just want to say we appreciate your time, and thanks for watching, folks.